Last week we spoke about the end of Revenge of the Sith, so in true George Lucas fashion this week, as part of Brown Table's collaborative project Star Wars Defined, we're going to end with the beginning and talk about the film's opening sequence, which is for me one of my favourite opening sequences in all of Star Wars. From breakneck speed action sequences, a sweet lightsaber duel, a host of humorous hijinks, and some well laid groundwork for the story, this opening has a little bit of everything, and today we're going to dive in and break down exactly what makes this all tick. So strap in, lock X-Foils to attack positions and enjoy, because this, well,
this is where the fun begins.
Star Wars Episode 3 has one of my favourite opening shots behind only, of course, the opening shot from A New Hope, because quite frankly that's never going to be topped. In our Palpatine essay we touched a little bit on how the prequels became elevated in the absence of dialogue, and nowhere is this as true than in the very first shot of the movie. We see two ships fly in perfect unison past a Republic dreadnought. They spin together at the exact same time, never breaking formation. Before we're even shown the two characters inside, we know that they are a perfect team. Once it is moments later revealed that this is Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi, this very first shot communicates even more, namely that the Clone Wars have brought the two Jedi closer together. Compare this to their very first scene in Attack of the Clones, which tries to establish a similar kind of relationship.
I haven't felt you this tense since we fell into that nest of gundarks.
You fell into that nightmare, Master, and I rescued you, remember?
Not only is the dialogue stilted, but we're being told how great they are together. In Revenge of the Sith, we're being shown. Rather than a static two shots in an elevator, we're treated to a grandiose tracking shot as both ships speed alongside the dreadnought before diving down into this. That's epic, and it's constructed as a neat little surprise for the audience because up until this point, there's nothing to denote that Anakin and Obi-Wan are about to fly headfirst into a skirmish. The visuals of this space battle are drenched in magnificent colours. There's a lot going on, but crucially it's all clear to follow because our leads are present the entire time. Not only is the cacophony of ships a death-defying minefield to navigate, but the Jedi have to contend with vulture droids, tracking missiles, and Obi-Wan's fear of flying.
Alright R4, no, nothing too fancy.
The buzz droids were a great new addition to the war's mythos and provide a credible threat that they can't merely shoot their way out of. Not for Anakin's lack of trying.
Move to the right so I can get a clear shot at them.
I'm running out of tricks here.
Which is hilarious and completely in line with his character, whilst Obi-Wan freaks the f*** out.
The name of...
R2 gets his moment to shine when this culminates in a standoff with the last remaining buzz droid, although his real MVP moment is when he douses two battle droids in ship ketchup and lights their shit up. You are both literally designed for combat, and you are bested by a protocol droid, you incompetent f***. This sequence evokes the speed and wondrous visuals of the space battle in Return of the Jedi, and nothing else has matched either of them in the saga. Plus it's got a great Indiana Jones, hero squeeze through tiny gap as door closes moment to top it all off. Oh, and plus 10 points for Obi jumping out of the ship mid-skid to mess up some battle droids.
What was that all about?
Well, R2 has been...
No loose wire jokes.
Did I say anything?
He's trying.
I didn't say anything.
The banter between Anakin and Obi-Wan here is the best it's ever been, and it gives host to... I can't believe I'm saying this about a prequel, some really great lines.
I sense a trap.
Next move?
Spring the trap.
Again, not to dog on Attack of the Clones too much, but I recently watched both movies back to back and it was abundantly clear the rapport between Christensen and McGregor is night and day different and leagues ahead of what they tried to do previously. In Clones, McGregor's Obi-Wan is just a bit of a dick to Anakin because... reasons.
Besides, your senses aren't that attuned to my young apprentice.
And yours are.
Possibly.
I get in that movie we're supposed to be building up the idea that Anakin is frustrated with his Jedi Master, but it comes off overtly mean-spirited for the sake of plot rather than character. Here it's clear that the 3-year interim between Clones and Revenge has brought them closer together as they fought side by side in the Clone Wars, and now the relationship is written and performed more in line with what Alec Guinness describes in A New Hope.
And he was a good friend.
Anakin and Obi-Wan finally reach their objective, the Chancellor, but before they can free him they have to face Count Dooku one last time.
Your swords, please. We don't want to make a mess of things in front of the Chancellor.
I don't think this fight gets spoken about enough. Not only is it a nice coda to the previous Anakin Obi Dooku fight, it surpasses it on every level. Having Palpatine in a chair clearly meant to evoke his throne room seat from Return of the Jedi, as he once again looks on as a young Skywalker battles his Sith apprentice, is a great parallel. He might be cuffed this time and merely Chancellor Palpatine rather than the outed Sith Lord, but he still holds all the cards. The framing of this one is really nice, and we get some sweet shots of all three of them locked into combat, and the team made full use of this unique setting as we get some overhead shots and pans of the fight. The sound design here is so satisfying. And again, we spoke about this a little bit in our Palpatine essay, but boy does this fight have some juicy meme material.
My powers have doubled since the last time we met, Count.
Good. Twice the pride, double the fall.
What does that even mean? I love it. I love it.
Get help, you're no match for him. He's a Sith Lord.
Chancellor Palpatine, Sith Lords are our speciality.
Oh, reload that again. The way Anakin moves his footing, the way he slices off both of Dooku's hands, the way Dooku looks at his own hands, shocked that he's finally been bested and the jig is up, the way Anakin casually catches Dooku's own blade and crosses it over with his own over Dooku's head as the Sith Lord drops to his knees at Skywalker's complete and utter mercy. And then, the way Palpatine chuckles watching it all unfold. Perfection, perfection, perfection. This is the best finisher to a lightsaber duel, challenged only by this terrifying milk. Dooku waits at Anakin's mercy, and the late great Christopher Lee plays it for full sympathy. Suddenly he's not the mighty Count Dooku, he's just an old man terrified to die. Palpatine's true colours are on full display here.
Kill him. Kill him now.
Poor Dooku, he's just lost for words. Which is funny, because the words he should be saying are, he's the Sith Lord, he's right there.
I shouldn't.
Again, the parallels to Return of the Jedi are really well done. Where Luke resisted...
Never. I'll never turn to the dark side.
Anakin gives in.
Do it.
Palpatine sneakily tries to convince Anakin to leave Obi-Wan to die, but of course he can't do it. He would do anything for Obi-Wan Kenobi. At this point in time, this opening sequence re-establishes Anakin as the hero, the person that will try to save people no matter what.
They're all over me! I'm gonna go help them out. No, they are doing their job. Then we can do ours.
But also gets frustrated when he fails to do so. It's important that we see this now, because as we all know, Anakin becomes the opposite as we chart his fall to the dark side in the rest of the movie. And as the internet has awesomely pointed out already,
leave him or we'll never make it.
His fate will be the same as ours.
Dies on Death Star, dies on Death Star, dies on Death Star. As Palpatine, Anakin and Obi-Wan escape the ship, we're treated to some more hijinks as the ship begins to fall towards the planet below. Palpy always gets a smile out of me here. I just love the fact that he could easily zip and run around with them, but because he has to maintain the facade that he is not force sensitive, he instead hangs on patiently for Anakin to sort it all out. And then Kenobi wakes up to a little bit of a spot of bother. This is also a clever way to have a scene with Anakin and both his light side and dark side teachers, reaffirming his status as a Jedi Knight troubled by the tempting ideals of the Sith. Again, it feels like this opening sequence has a clear focus on Anakin, and we're reminded of key details that will help us to understand his motivations later on in the movie.
You did well, Anakin. He was too dangerous to be kept alive.
He has control of the Senate and the courts. He's too dangerous to be left alive.
I'm too weak.
It wasn't the first time, Anakin. Remember what you told me about your mother and the Sand people?
Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones really suffer from a protagonist problem, or rather a lack thereof, whereas in Revenge of the Sith it's abundantly clear that this will be Anakin's story, and it is his arc that will drive the rest of the movie around him.
Ray shields.
To top it all off, the gang are introduced to General Grievous before springing a trap of their own and fighting off his Magna Guards. Whoa, that was a close one. If only I had force abilities of my own, I could have fought them off myself, but of course I don't. Like the Buzz Droids, the Magna Guards are a great inventive new idea, and it makes perfect sense that you'd construct a robot that would still function without the use of its head, akin to a cockroach. Apt considering the enemy droids in the prequels all seem very insectoid as it is. With Palpatine rescued, Dooku slain, and Grievous, well, they'll get him next time. Our trio have one last challenge to overcome. They've got to land the invisible hand as it falls to pieces. John Williams' score is once again out in full force. We get to see Anakin's piloting skills on display, and of course a good old classic Kenobi zinger to top it all off.
Not to worry, we are still flying half a ship.
By the time the ship skids to a crawl across the Coruscant runway, we've been treated to a full self-contained Anakin Obi-Wan adventure. This opening sequence sets up the movie brilliantly, but it's also a perfect taste of what Anakin and Obi-Wan's Clone Wars adventures were like. This is basically a live-action episode of Clone Wars before Clone Wars was a thing. Revenge of the Sith is the daddy of the prequel trilogy, and it's clear from this epic opening sequence that you're in for a treat for the remainder of its runtime. Rewatching this opening fills me with nostalgia and joy, but it's simply a fantastic sequence in its own right that blends the spectacle with the fun in equal measure. Here's to Revenge of the Sith, and here's to Star Wars. The Star Wars tracks in this video were very kindly provided by Samuel Kim Music. You can check out some of his awesome tracks over at his channel, the details of which are in the description below. Thank you for watching another Full Fat video. If you'd like to see more from Full Fat videos, why not follow us on Instagram and Twitter? Please consider becoming a patron on Patreon. We've got some cool exclusive content on there. Thank you to our $100 patrons, Dr. Chike and Jax Merrick. Chris and I really appreciate it. Until next time, stay milky.